Miami versus Virginia Tech. I think, Joe, a lot of people are really interested to see Miami again more on a national stage. Now, Virginia Tech's not the team that a lot of us thought that they'd be coming into the season. But how do you see this one going out, the Hurricanes versus the Hokies?
First of all, Virginia Tech has been extremely disappointing for the expectations that we as a show had for them for this season and just in general. Last week's game against Rutgers, I think, really epitomizes that level of disappointment. We see the pieces. You know, you see Kyron Drones being a good athlete and him being a possibly good distributor. Their secondary is still really good, but they're getting their asses whooped on both lines of scrimmage. They have allowed 10 sacks so far this season, and they're allowing 181 rush yards per game. They're getting brutalized. As cool as this might be to be a close game on Friday night, and maybe this ends up being competitive, I don't think it's going to be. It sucks because I really wanted to be in on the Hokies, man. I thought this would have been fun storyline to follow, but it turns out Boston College was the out of nowhere ACC team this year.
Yeah.
They are going to run all over.
25 got it right. You know, they were the team in the playoff every year. I mean, this whole segment about that. College Football 25 got that one right, brother.
To everyone who's played Dynasty mode, for some reason, Boston College is really good, and they knew something that we didn't. But Jordan Lyle and Damian Martinez have been so good on the ground this year. That offensive line has only allowed 3 sacks, and they've produced 16. There is such a separation on both lines of scrimmage between these two teams.
Joe, here's what I'm going to say about Virginia Tech before I get to Miami. I love the fight that they show, though. You know, that Rutgers game, they go into the fourth quarter, they're down. They could have just folded up their tent. They could have folded up their lawn chair and gone home. They score 16 points in the fourth quarter. And I think there's a lot to be said, and we learned a lot about that today, even with the UNLV stuff. Culture means stuff. Now, Kyron Drones, when you look at him, man, they didn't have a productive day throwing the football. He literally was only, my notes are down. He went 13 of 27. He didn't even go over 50%, and he had a bad day. He threw a pick. Some would say maybe not his fault. I'm not even going to argue that.
Right.
Joe, I think he's running around for his life, and I think that this is the point that you make. Look, dude, the separation on both lines of scrimmage is astronomical. We came into the season, Joe, thinking that the D-line of Virginia Tech might actually do something and bust a grape here or there. They're just so bad along their offensive line, and this is not the team that you need to try to find yourself against. You're going into a 5th straight week against arguably one of the best opponents in the country, a team a lot of people think is going to win the ACC. And look, man, Cam Ward is just all over the place. He's so good at everything that he does. He's one of the best passers in the country at throwing the ball deep. They're one of the best teams running the football. They're the highest team in intermediate pass rate. They're the best team in completion percentage from passes 8 yards or fewer. Joe, I've told you this week already when we talked about Ohio State. I don't like going into games and saying they're going to be blowouts. I don't like doing that because college football always teaches us every single year that that's not always true, that a team like Virginia Tech can come out of nowhere, be down, and give them a game. The problem is, though, man, is what you said to lead off in this. Both lines of scrimmage are going to dominate in this, and I think Kyron Drones is going to have a really tough day because he's just going to have to run around for his life. I will say this, though. I wonder if Miami can continue up the same pace and be as focused as they've been for every single opponent. And that's the question. That when do they have a lapse game? When do they have a game that they're like just lollygagging around? Is it this one? Do they even have one? I don't know. I don't like saying that there's going to be blowouts, but, man, it just really feels like this one's setting up for being one.
Yeah, I don't know where that lapse is going to be. They do have Louisville coming up pretty soon.
Well, if Louisville beats Notre Dame, that's going to be a high-profile game, brother.
Yeah, that one's going to be fun to cover. They have to go to Cal, I believe, which is going to be really interesting. Maybe it's Georgia Tech, maybe it's Syracuse, but I don't – what's a fair, impressing thing for me because under Cristobal so far, he hasn't been great in the opening stretch of his seasons. Like in the first 4 weeks, a lot of times – well, not a lot of times, but for the past 2 years at Miami – he had the dud against Texas A&M. He had, he didn't have a dud against Texas A&M. He had the big game against Texas A&M and then had the dud against Georgia Tech not long after. Has had the dud against Middle
lost
Tennessee.
An Auburn team at Oregon when Bo Nix was a freshman. That was by the way, he had Justin Herbert.
Right, when he was at Oregon. There have been disappointing performances for him to start years, and it doesn't feel like that's even on the radar so far this year. They have blown past everybody, including beating up on Florida, dominating Ball State 62-0. And then some people thought that South Florida could be a sneaky team in that situation to keep it close like they did against Alabama. And they said, psych, not so fast. They didn't give a shit. They beat the crap out of them. This feels like, and this is why I get really frustrated. My good friend Ryan Roberts, who covers college football for A to Z Sports, me and him get into the biggest arguments about Mario Cristobal and this Miami team. And the argument that we keep getting into is he keeps saying, I don't trust Mario Cristobal. But everything that he has done up until this point is the exact opposite of every time that a team has not failed to meet expectations. This is the best team that he has ever had. And I like that this Virginia Tech game is going to be that first opportunity to really showcase and premiere since the Florida game of everybody was hyped up about us week one. Keep building on this hype. Keep building on the Cam Ward hype. This is how, in a primetime slot on a Friday night, how you continue to build the momentum for a season when you have a relatively easy schedule that you won't have too many signature opportunities.
Everybody's going to start talking to you about the Heisman here in the next couple of weeks too, because people are going to start coming out with their midseason Heisman Trophy winners.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to be on there. Again, Joe, I don't know what else to say. I know that I want to, come in here and give Virginia Tech a lot of grace, but it's just, look, man, you've had bad games. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't lose to Rutgers and Vandy and think that I'm going to come in here and say that you can win. And Joe, do I think that they can? Ironically, dude, we talked about this in the preseason. They have the chance to do something like defense. They were number one in return. Guys are people that were returning in college for tackles for a loss in the ACC. They have pieces. I just don't see where Kyron Drones has anything that he can work with that as bad as this offensive line is. Here's what I'd say about Miami, though, Joe. I think the public, everybody keeps saying, or people who don't cover or watch as much college football keep saying that Miami always loses games, and they don't realize that Miami is a different team this year. And I think that's the thing to me that I want to focus in on this game. If they go out there and blow out another opponent, you better start keeping your eyes on them, because they're going to be a playoff contender. And not only a playoff contender, Joe, if they get in the right spot with right seeding, they could be a national title contender.
I still stand by in the offseason, and this is why I'm so heavily invested in Miami. I'm still sticking with the predictions that I had in the middle of the offseason, which was Miami's going to win the ACC and that Cam Ward's going to win the Heisman. We're on that trajectory. This is just another notch in the belt. This is just another opportunity to add to what could be a huge season for them. BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Yeah.
I know it's not an exciting game. So I wish this was Louisville. I wish this could have been Louisville that we're talking about here. I don't know. Hopefully it's a Good Friday game though. I think that's the.
Well, I do want to see him again, because here's the thing with Miami too. Nobody's giving them love after what they did to Florida. No, nobody.
No. And we moved on quick, and a lot of people tried to poo-poo the Florida win.
Well, because it's Florida, and everyone's like, Billy Napier's going to get fired. He sucks. And then Florida lost to A&M. And, look, man, I think there's something to be said about going I think there's something to be – here's what I think with Miami. Let me backtrack. There's something to be said about that team going in there in week one and beating them based off that they had never played together in a real game. Mm. And the crazy thing about this is, man, they're only getting better. That's the thing that I think scares me the most with them. They're only getting better every single week. Damian Martinez keeps getting better. That O-line keeps getting better. Their receiving core, I don't think that receiving core, quite honestly, has really stretched their legs as much as they need to. I don't think that they've been in a game where they need to really open things up. And I think, look, Cristobal is what he is. I think he's got really good assistants underneath him. I think Guidry and Shannon are really good coordinators. He's just got a really good staff behind him, and that's what happens, man. And I'm not out on Cristobal. I'm not out on Mario yet. And I think that, look, man, he's going to continue to win here, and I think the quarterback play has been a big deal for them. I mean, look what they could have been without Van Dyke last year. I mean, Van Dyke went to Wisconsin and stunk.
Well,
what would they have been last year if they had a moderately above average quarterback? Maybe they're in a New Year's Six Bowl. Who knows?
That was my whole point with Tyler Van Dyke. That was receiving such a visceral reaction that doesn't need to be revisited. But
by the way, before we get out of here, I know that Zug in here's probably just throwing joking, but he says Alabama by 50. Have you seen our comments on our YouTube chat from Bama fans?
No, what are they saying?
They really think that they're about to dog walk Georgia.
All right, that guy, they got to get a little bit of a taste of reality.
You know, Joe Show on YouTube. They really think that they're about to dog walk Georgia. Dude, everybody's picking against Georgia. Everybody.
Yeah, let's see.
Go look at them, man. They're dog walking. Oh, we're going to beat them by 14 to 21 points.
Yeah, this is...
Not good. They really think they're going to dog walk them.
Why did somebody spell Kalen DeBoer's name wrong? I don't know. This is a weird...
Bama, dude, I think it should scare. I think it should scare everybody that everybody's picking Bama in this one. Really, I do.
I don't think that many people are picking Bama.
I
think some people are picking Bama. I don't think that many people are.
Shit.
I can't wait for that game, though. That is going to be... I'm excited that we're and I said this on Monday. We actually have a really good game to talk about this week, and it might end up being the most important game of the season.
Watch one of them get blown out.
Dude, I'm going to be so pissed. I'm going to be so mad if that game's lopsided. I'm going to be so freaking mad if it's a blowout. I'm turning the game off if it's lopsided at any point. I'm just going to bed.
You're always welcome in Baton Rouge. We'll see y'all on Sunday. Y'all have a good night. Peace.